Hello and welcome to the Magical Learning Podcast. As you can see from our title today, we're having an author's podcast. Super excited about this. And before we start, and before I get you to introduce yourself, Emma, we always like to see how people's weeks have been. So tell us, how's your week been this week?
Yeah, so we're Wednesday, so
Yes.
it hasn't been too bad. I recently just had my book launch, my in-person book launch, which was amazing, but it was a lot, and so I was hoping this week was going to be a little bit more calm, but I don't think it's ever calm. Not really, but it's definitely, there's a weight off my shoulders, and it's nice to be able to focus just on, writing articles and preparing for podcasts and scheduling my own podcast. So busily, but not too bad. What about you? How's your week been, Jeanette?
I've been travelling this week. So Melbourne Monday, Canberra yesterday, Sydney this afternoon, and back to Canberra tomorrow night, and then home on Friday. So it's been quite a busy week, which is awesome. I love travelling.
Yeah.
So Emma is the author. So Emma Lagerlow, did I say that right?
Lagerlow, yeah.
Worthy and Wealthy. And this is an awesome book. What I love about this book, because I've read it over the last week or so, is it's nice, short, succinct. It's got some fabulous reflection questions and great tools and exercises. So Emma, I'm going to actually get you to tell us a little bit about you and your journey before we start to explore the book.
Sure. Well, yeah, thank you for reading, Danette. I really appreciate that. And I love hearing that it was, it's an easy and practical read. That's really what I was after. But getting to that point has been a very long journey in my life. I'll start with when I left school. I really wanted to be a journalist, and I just loved writing, but I didn't get into the course that I wanted to, and so I had to sort of worm my way through another direction. And in that process, I sort of lost my mojo a little bit with the whole, it's going to be a big step and a lot of commitment to become a journalist. And I'd met my boyfriend, he was become my husband, and we wanted to travel and do all of those things. And so I switched over to a business degree. And so I ended up getting a marketing degree and working in banking and finance for, 10 years. And look, it was great. It held me in good stead. And it has really helped me actually to write this book, because there is a little bit about wealth in there. But the desire to write nearly never went away. I've got 4 kids as well. And so I guess all of that got in the way, really. I started writing a book when I was 25, and it was a romance fiction. Then I got to a certain point and I felt like I just needed more life experience. And then it took me 25 years to, to get that. And it was around the time of the pandemic, actually, because I was always have these little, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write a book. And then life would be busy. I was working and being a mum and all of that. And it was a pandemic that was really the time when everything just stopped. And I was able to really think, wow, like if there's ever an opportunity, this is going to be it, where I don't have, all the social gatherings going on and the kids running them around and all of that. And so that was the time that I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write the book. But having then a marketing degree as well, I knew I couldn't just go, and now I'm an author. I thought I would start a blog, and that would then hopefully attract some readers then that would eventually want to buy my book. And it started out as Mama's-Day, actually. And I've got a bit of a spiritual leaning, which you can see in the book, and I love yoga. And so I was doing yoga during the pandemic, and I was, at the end, you say namaste, and I was like, Mama's Day, like, this is perfect.
I love it.
My kids were teenagers, and so they were giving me a run for my money, and I thought that I'd be able to maybe write about some of the trials and tribulations of going through all of that, and how that we can navigate those time in our lives with a little bit more grounding and calm and humour as well. Started Mama's Day, and then I found like I was sort of limiting myself a little bit by just talking about, mum life, and really wanted to talk about more. Had business coaches that were helping me along, and then I studied coaching because I really enjoyed that. And it was something that I felt like I'd even been doing my life with friends and family and all of that type of thing. And so I studied coaching, and then I felt like I really had such a great topic for my book to be able to really explore, marrying it all, where I'd also stepped away by that stage from my corporate career and had really come to the realization that, life isn't just about that striving for career success and striving to pay the mortgage off and I'll be happy when I retire. And it's about being happy right now. And so like I came up with a little bit of a blueprint and decided to write about it. So I hope
Love
that helps. It's a bit of a winding, twisting turn, but
And
yeah.
that's great. And I love that because it also sort of shows through your book as well, that journey. So, the reason for writing your book, obviously you've learnt a lot of things through your life. So any other reasons you wrote this book? Because it's a great book, by the way, everyone. You need to buy it. Let me just hold
Thank
it
you,
up.
thanks. Thank you, Jeanette. Yeah, so I just felt that, I mean, I love coaching people, but even the coaching, it's people, I feel like they really have to be at a rock bottom or a real crossroads in their life to seek out a coach, especially a life coach. And so I felt like I wasn't just reaching the people that were just, sort of going through their lives, maybe not feeling like overly happy, a little bit dissatisfied. They thought there was more. And, a book would be a really low cost sort of way that I could get into their, lives and maybe just, start to make them think a little bit, is there more for me? Is there something that I've always wanted to do that I'm not doing? Or could I be more fulfilled or feel more abundant without it always just being the grind of earning the money and trying to get a, promotion at work or trying to make ends meet and all of that. So yeah, that's why I wrote the book, because I feel now so fulfilled and abundant from following something that has always been on my heart. And I feel like most people would have something that they think, oh, I wish I could do that, or I'd love to do that. And so this book is hopefully encouraging them to, first of all, work out what that is, and then, work out how they can get it, and then go and get it. So, yeah.
I love that. And I really loved, the exercises you put in there, that your questions were beautiful, because what I know, because we do a lot around brain science, is great questions open people's brains to possibilities. And as you said, when people have hit rock bottom, their brains usually are very shut down. So to pick up a book like this and just start, and that journey through questions, just opening your mind, what a great resource. Which takes me then, so I want to ask about, there is a character in this book and her name is Jules. And so I'd love for you to share with our listeners and our viewers a little bit more about Jules, because Jules goes on a journey in this book.
Yes, Jules, yeah, certainly goes on a journey. And I guess it's even harking back to like my fiction writing a little bit as well, that I've weaved that in to the book. And I loved being able to do that, because having a fictional character as well really gives you more poetic license, I think, to even explore some of the things that potentially even happened in my own life, but without having to out myself, completely
I
as
love that.
well, even though I just have, I think. But
No, no, not at all.
yeah, but so Jules, yeah, there's definitely areas of my life, and I feel that, pre-pandemic Emma really was Jules. I mean, once you've read the book and where she's standing in the kitchen and she's really, just pulled as tight as can be, where she's a single mom, which I'm not a single mom and never have been. So we can put that out there, even though my husband said, am I like Dean? And I'm like, no, you're not Dean. So I have had to watch what I've said, and I've pulled from other people that I know and clients and that type of thing as well. But yeah, definitely the kitchen scene where she was just pulled tightly and one of her kids, knocks over a glass of juice, and it's just like the straw that breaks the camel's back, and she lets out a primordial scream, and, she's going to be late, and she's just so reactive because she has no tools to really help herself be grounded, and she's not even living in alignment with, what she really wants in her life. And so that day is sort of, the catalyst for then her to start seeking out change. And really, yeah, that definitely did happen to me, that whole juice, that whole juice thing where, yeah, and I hated myself at that, point where, then I go to work and you feel dreadful all day because you lashed out at your kids, and, it was an accident. And it was really when then I had sort of gone on to this journey and discovered meditation, and I journal myself and I practice gratitude, and I really started to notice a shift. And a similar thing happened, about a year into that sort of journey for me, that, a glass was knocked over, and the way I handled it was just so completely differently. And that was a light bulb to know, like, this actually works. It really helps you to be less reactive, and and just realize that, nothing's going to change. You still have to clean up the mess. And if you're going to yell and scream and carry on at everyone, then you're actually going to feel so much worse about it. And so I guess it has sort of followed a little bit of my own journey with Jules, where then she has discovered a life coach, and she's gone on to do extra study and really just found herself. And when she knew who she really was and what she really wanted, and then she went and got it. And yeah, it really was an incredible transformation that she has gone on, and she's probably far surpassed my own, but we can keep going for it.
You know, what I really like, Emma, that you did with her story too is, yeah, a lot of books are like how to do this in 5 days or 10 days or something. Jules's journey was many, many years. And I like that because to answer the questions, to build those habits, that doesn't take a day or two. That takes time. And I love how you showed the impact across that time rather than just going, this is going to happen in the next 6 weeks or something. So
Yeah.
kudos to you too, because often the market wants to hear you can do it now, but actually this is something that to be sustainable takes time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And when I even, got to the money chapter in chapter 4, where she starts to grow her wings, and, I'm saying like she has made so much progress, but there's still more to make, where she had some of those habits around, impulse spending and that, which, yeah, look, I think we always will, but it's having that awareness of them. And then it's the habit stacking as well, like the further along you get, and then you can add a little bit more and a little bit more to improve your quality of life and the way you show up.
Yeah, I love that. And that habit stacking is, we learn one thing, then it's like, isn't this it? And it's like, no, there's another level and then
Mm.
there's another level, which is beautiful. I once had a student who literally hated her job so much that she got paid on Thursdays. Thursday lunchtime, she went and spent all her money, and then she had to work for the next 2 weeks till she got her next pay. And I was like, there has to be a better way for you. But her way of feeling good was to go and spend money. So I love that you also brought that in as part of the case study. And I really, to your bit about, we have to be aware, we have to be intentional. And so it takes steps, takes time to get there. So great book. So I'm really curious. I'd love for you to share more with our listeners and our viewers about your 5 pillars.
My book, actually, I love butterflies. You can see that, I've got a little butterfly in here. And so I was so loved that. Yeah. Even at my wedding, I had butterflies like on the invitations. And so it was amazing that I was able to weave that into my book as well. And it follows that analogy where you start as a caterpillar, sluggishly moving through life. And then, go to the chrysalis where you learn who you really are. And so that is chapter 1, where it is, knowing who we are. And I think we don't do that. I mean, I wish school would even teach us around what, our beliefs, like what are the things that we've learned through our primary caregivers and things like that we just believe are true about life and about ourselves, and could be holding us back in life from actually achieving more. So that is really the first chapter, is about self-worth and really knowing who we are. And then we go into the next step, which is around purpose and your values. And I think, again, this is so, I didn't know about what my values were until, I started studying coaching, and it was just such a light bulb, like an epiphany for me and it has helped me to really navigate my life with more ease and flow, even to be, rather than triggered when, someone does trigger me. Now I'm sort of look at it from more of a curious perspective of like, oh, why am I feeling triggered? And, maybe their values are not aligned with me, not the same as mine. And so I can look at it from that more, just a bird's eye view, rather than just getting angry, like, why would they do that? Saying you're going to meet someone at the gym and, they don't show up. And I didn't even
Yeah,
want to go to the gym, and I was going because of you, and all of that. And, just get really riled up about it. And now I can go, well, maybe they don't, one of their values is an integrity.
yeah.
So yeah, okay, so then fair enough. And then it's up to me then to decide whether, I want to keep letting them, showing up for that, and if they want to let me down, or if I want to say, well, no, like I can't keep doing that. And so, yeah, it really helps. But it helps then also to go with your purpose, like what is your purpose in life? And I think a lot of the time we think our purpose has to be our career, but it really doesn't. It can be about how we want to show up in the world, like how we sort of want to be remembered at the end of the day as well, for our family, and if we want to give back to the community, if we want to make an impact on, environment or things like that. Like it's really, it can be that more overarching, and it can be that it doesn't happen all through your career. It can be a side hustle, or it can be a hobby, or it can be, if it's adventure or something like that. And so really understanding, your life purpose. And then we go into self-care, and that's like the nectar in the butterfly analogy. And I am such an advocate for self-care, and I think it's so important for us to pour that bit of love and attention into ourselves. And we
Totally.
often think, especially as women and mums, that we're being selfish by seeking self-care, But we're not, we can often do that. And it doesn't even impact, my morning routine, for instance. I talk about the meditation and journaling. I have teenagers now, so, they're not like getting up very early, but I do that first thing in the morning, and it can take as little as 10 minutes if I'm in a rush. And it just then sets me up with a more grounded and calm, and I feel more clarity. I don't have so much sort of resentment, or I'm even aware of what that resentment is, rather than it just niggling away and then I'm snapping at people. So yeah, but it could be if it's exercise or going for a walk or being in nature or having a cup of tea, whatever it is. I just think it's so important that we just pour that little bit of love and attention into ourselves to then show up as better versions of ourselves. So that was chapter 3. And then chapter 4 is wings. And so that is your finances. And of course, Worthy and Wealthy is the name of the book. I need to, yeah, and it is really important. I've worked in banking and finance. I'm the family budgeter in our home. My mum was as well. And so, yeah, it just, made sense. And I think it's so important that we feel financially empowered. As much as I think money isn't the be all and end all, if we don't feel financially secure, then we're not going to be able to indulge in self-care and get the most out of it or feel worthy. So it's so important that we have, some financial security. And I dig into a little bit around that sort of impulsive spending and breaking negative money habits, and a little bit into wealth building as well, which I think, is so important for us to then jump into chapter 5, which is when we fly, and it's all about time freedom. And I feel like time is really the true wealth, because
Yes.
it is something that once we spend it, we can't get it back. And it is so valuable that we spend our time on things that are really meaningful and important for us. Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, brilliant book. And it really, I do talk about that. And when I did that time management matrix and was just aware of when we're spending time in non-urgent but important areas, is where we really get the full meaning of our lives, where we're spending it with our family and our friends, where we're traveling, we're even building our well-being with health and preventative, all of that type of thing. That is really how we make a meaningful life, rather than spending it on being urgent all the time because we're missing deadlines and there's meetings that we haven't done, or we're just responding to emails and the phone rings and you pick it up no matter what, because that's just what you do, and you're having a great conversation with your husband or wife or partner or child. Yeah, or we're spending too much time just scrolling social media or binging Netflix. I mean, as much as I think it's really important to do that, because we need downtime. If we do too much of that, then we might be neglecting those really meaningful things that we can do that give our life meaning, fulfillment, abundance.
Yep.
Yeah, so that is my book.
And I was going to say, one of the things I really like, Emma, so I have an accounting background, weirdly. I'm the weirdest accountant because I love people. Is a second. But what I loved in your financial one is because a lot of women often struggle and go, they put themselves last in terms of finance. They also will often say, I don't understand numbers. And yet when you invest a little bit of time in doing that, it gives you that freedom to be able to achieve the time freedom, etc. So I loved how you explained it, because it was nice and simple. And simple actually is not easy to do. So like, I want to sort of kudos to you for doing that. I also love that you invited people to explore where they got their beliefs around money and actually start to think, is this actually helping me move forward around this? Is it more positive or is it more negative? So I just wanted to acknowledge that, because that actually takes a lot of effort, and it is definitely one where I see a gap in this space. So well done.
Oh, thanks, Danette. Yeah, I do
Pleasure.
think that is really true. And it comes back to what I was talking about in the chapter 1, where we have those beliefs that are just handed down to us from our parents, that, someone has money and they're like, oh, well, they, obviously haven't come by that with, the most wholesome way, or money doesn't grow on trees. And so then you really just have this scarcity mindset that it's really hard to earn money. It's hard to come by money. And when we have that, then we're energetically creating that situation for ourselves. We're making it hard for ourselves. So once we're aware of it, then we can actually shine a lens on it and say, is that really true? Is it hard for me to earn money? Is there an easier way? Yeah. And I'm sure you have some great ideas about how it can be easier.
Yes, totally. I also love that you talked about manifesting in the last chapter as well, because again, a lot of people go, oh, that's woo-woo. And it's like, you know what? There's a lot of science now that actually shows that it works well when you believe in it, but you got to believe in stuff too. So,
Yeah,
and I love how
definitely.
you went through that and gave people a process to be able to do that successfully.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think manifesting can just bring so much hope for
Yes.
us that if we can imagine something so clearly that we can actually bring it into our lives. And, I mean, it's about taking that aligned action. But yeah, manifesting I feel like could be my second book because Joe Dispenza's work
Is
it really
awesome.
speaks to me. And I think, we could just get so much out of that if we really believe in ourselves and believe in the potential for our
Yes.
futures.
Yeah. Love it. So, Emma, I've got a question because you talk about the importance of your values. Really curious because I reckon there's a whole stack of listeners out there that are probably like, oh, I don't even know what my values really are. So, how did you go about finding your values?
Yeah, so when I was studying life coaching, there was a whole module around this, and it had a workbook. And the questions are actually really quite simple, but they are quite deep and thought provoking as well. And I have actually put them in my book. So they're really around thinking about times when you felt really fulfilled, proud, joyful, or a moment, and writing about that. And there's other questions around a time when you felt incredibly regretful or sad, and writing about that. And those questions start to give you an idea, like even with what you're writing, there might be some the values that you start to bring into that. Then we go into more questions around when you get into a state of flow. So when you're just enjoying life. So for me, that would be writing, but for someone it might be gardening, or maybe it's running, or what is about that you really love and that can help. It's also around the people that we admire in our lives, and often they're mirrors for us. And so the qualities that we admire in someone else, we often have in ourselves. And so if it's your grandmother for her confidence or her nurturing, or it's a politician for their leadership, or a movie star for their je ne sais quoi, whatever it might be, then it's often what we see in someone else we have in ourselves. Equally, what we see in negative in someone, so we often have to look at that in ourselves as well, because that can trigger us and make us wonder what it is about that we don't like. And so there are a few of the questions. There are some other ones, like activities that bring you joy, and then reflecting on what are your natural gifts, like what do people come to you for advice or help on things. Like, is it that you're good at giving advice if they've got a problem, or are you great at helping them to fix something, or whatever it might be. So it's really reflecting on those questions. But yeah, definitely in the book. And I have a resource as well that is it's a 90-page booklet, because I know you can't really go through all of these journaling prompts in the book. If you have a journal, you can write on it, but it's free to download when you buy the book. And so it's an excellent resource that can really help you, and it has plenty of space to write down all your thoughts, and everything's around finding your values and uncovering your limiting beliefs and all of those things. But I wish there was a topic on this at school. I think it would be so worthy for everyone to know what their values are. Mine's around creativity, legacy, connection, love, those type of things. And it's just good to know, like, and they're like signposts that can help you then make decisions on your life around what you want to do for your career, or how you want to live your life, if you know what your values are. So I urge everyone to check out learn your values for sure.
Love that. Now, another question I've got, really, we love to ask this of our authors. What's your writing process? So I know everyone's different, but love to understand your process.
Yeah, no, thank you for this question. And it is different for everyone. I know some people lock themselves away for a week and just really, go for it. For me, that wasn't possible, being a mum of four. There's still two of them are still at school, so there's lots of driving around and just cooking dinner and just being present for them all the time. I have my job as well, and coaching and all of that to do. And so really it was finding those moments in between that I would write. But I needed more than just a moment to really get in deep. I needed probably at least 2 or 3 hours to be able to say, right, I can write now. And so it would often be after dinner. So once, I'd done dinner, it was cleaned up, everyone was home. And I also, like, our house is very full, so I'm in the dining room. So I had a stand-up desk, and so it was really, I'd shut the door and just lock myself away and just try and write for a few hours from, 7 till 10 or something like that, and get as much out. And going back to that as well, because I love writing, once I did get in flow, it gives people go, wow, that's commitment and that's discipline. But when you're doing something that you really love, and once you really do get into that state of flow, then it is a great feeling. And so, I'd have some really good writing sessions, but it really was in the spaces in between for me of trying to just carve it out. And then I guess it was being that discipline of, saying, right, I am going to write now rather than sit down and watch Netflix or scroll my phone and procrastinate. I mean, that did happen sometimes because, it was a difficult chapter, but yeah, that was my writing process. So I hope that helps. I guess it's saying you can do it. If a book is on your heart, then you feel your life is too busy. It is possible to do. And if it is on your heart, then it will really fulfill you to be able to even do that writing process. So yeah, that's mine.
Thank you, Emma. So we're nearly at the end, but I'm curious, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners and our viewers before we finish up?
No, I think give this a go. I know a lot of people think self-help. I'm not into self-help books and things like that, but it is a really easy read, and it could just, give you a little bit of perspective on, thank you, Danette, on your life. And we just have, so many of us are going through life on autopilot, and I know I was going through my life on autopilot. As much as it was amazing. I know 4 beautiful kids. I've got a great husband. Traveling, I was doing all of those things, but I still really wasn't doing the things that were really just lighting me up as a person. And I know now doing that is just making me show up as a better version of myself for everyone around me. It hasn't detracted, it's only enhanced. And I think we can all do that if we just have a look inside and see what it is that, really lights us up. And then I guess it's just about where you can find me. Like, I love being on Instagram. It's Emma Lagerlow. And I always like to say it's lager, like the beer, and low, how you feel when you have too much. Because it's a bit of a mouthful. Thanks to my husband for giving me that one. Yeah, and I'm on LinkedIn, and yeah, I've got a website, emmalagerlow.com. So yeah, come and check it out. I've got, lots of resources. If the simple budgeting has piqued your interest, then, I've got a budget planner on my website that you can download for free, and get started. And always my DMs are open, and I just love hearing back from people. So reach out. Also, thank you so much, Danette, for having me. I've been loving learning about your podcast and listening to, and the YouTube channel as well. Actually, I'll have to watch it as well to see you guys all in action.
Because then we can see book covers, which is really important, Worthy and Wealthy. For those that are listening, you need to get on YouTube and have a look. And Emma, we'll make sure that we share all of those links so people can contact you both on the YouTube channel as well as where we post our podcasts as well. Can I say thank you so much for joining us? I do coaching. I don't do at the level you do. And what I love about your book is this is, as you said, it's an easy way because it's low cost to get into understanding what coaching does. And I would say for any listener or viewer who is feeling a little bit unsettled, is not sure they're quite on their path, get yourself a copy of Worthy and Wealthy, and don't just read it, but make sure you do the exercises, download the extra resources that Emma gives, because this is a really great way to start to move yourself on the path towards way more fulfillment around your life. So Emma, thank you for writing it. I'm a hugger, so you get a virtual hug from me. And to all our listeners and viewers, we'd love you to have a magical week. Thank you, everyone.